long distance marriage is not easy, or a long distance relationship, it's not easy. But if you want to manage and maintain it, what do you do?
I was just letting them know it's not that bad. It's pretty
Anyway, stop distracting me. Anyway, yes.
I'm hosting. Don't take it away. Right.
Okay.
Hello, people. Welcome to Life with the Leogas. I am Rufaro Leoga, and beside me is
Belinda Yoga.
Together we make up the Leogas. So on this channel, we talk about life and all things relationship. Today, we're going to be going through the attachment styles and how our relocation journey brought us to understand the way we attached with each other. So it took a bit of distance to actually learn as to how we come together and kind of, I guess, I don't want to use the word attached again, but how we operate as individuals when we come together.
Yes, I was going to say we come together. Okay.
So there we go.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And just to open with, we're going to tell you what the attachment styles are. There are 4 of them that exist, or at least based upon the theory around attachment styles, there are 4 main ones, which are, hand over to my lovely assistant over here.
Yes, so the first one is securely attached, and anxious-preoccupied attached, fearful-avoidant attached, and dismissive-avoidant attached.
Fantastic. So those are the 4. And what we're going to do today is just kind of have a conversation about how we kind of discovered our attachment styles as we were distanced. And we're going to share how we've managed to navigate that. Obviously, we have a specific set of attachment styles, but we will touch on all 4 just to kind of elaborate as to how they work, and then share our journey of understanding them, trying to get to a point of being securely attached to each other.
But before we do that, please can you just educate the people, babe, on the 4 attachment styles that I spoke about, that I mentioned?
Fantastic. ChatGPT to help us here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the 4 attachment styles, which my wife has explained, just to give you guys a little bit of background as to which one is which and how they're defined. So the first one is the secure attachment. So this is people with this style are comfortable with intimacy and are usually warm and loving in relationships. They tend to have healthy, trusting relationships. An example of what this would look like is if Alex and Jamie are in a relationship. When Jamie has a bad day at work, Alex listens, comforts them, and encourages open discussion. Both feel safe expressing emotions and trust each other even when apart. They maintain healthy boundaries and enjoy intimacy without fear. And then we go on to the next one, which is the anxious-preoccupied attachment. This is where individuals with this style are often seek high levels of intimacy and approval from their partners, sometimes becoming overly dependent on them. They may worry about their partner's ability to love them back. How this looks like, we have Taylor, who is consistently worried about their partner Sam and whether they love them or not. If Sam takes too long to reply to a text, Taylor feels panicked and sends several follow-up messages. They often seek reassurance and fear abandonment even when the relationship is going well. Then we move on to dismissive-avoidant. For the dismissive-avoidant, it is defined as people with this style tend to value independence and often avoid emotional closeness. They might appear distant or emotionally unavailable. The example, Jordan enjoys dating but keeps emotionally distanced. When their partner tries to talk about the future or express deeper feelings, Jordan withdraws or dismisses it as too much. They pride themselves on independence and often avoid talking about emotions. I don't know what happened then. But yeah, they often avoid talking about their emotions. Then we move on to the last one, which is the fearful-avoidant, or just simply known as disorganized, which is the complete opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to the secure. So this one is described as being characterized by a mix of both anxious and avoidant behaviors. Individuals with this style often have difficulty trusting others and may have unpredictable behaviors in relationships. Example to go with that is Riley wants a close relationship but is terrified of being hurt. When things start getting serious with their partner, they suddenly pull away, ignore texts, and create conflict. They feel both a desire for closeness and a fear of betrayal, leading to confusing and erratic behavior. And so those are the 4 that we will be touching on.
And as you're just reading, I was just thinking as well how we've had to relocate and actually be apart for some time for us to then start looking into these things because of the different emotions that we experienced.
Yep.
It then allowed for us to start looking into this, like how have we actually attached to each other? So which one would you say is your attachment style?
Before I answer that question, though, I think something that you've highlighted, which I think is important to note, is the fact that the distance, because we are left with communicating and we weren't there to validate each other on a day-to-day basis, it kind of highlighted as to the, I wouldn't say the weaknesses we had, but rather it allowed the individuals, both of us, in this case, it allowed us as individuals to figure out where the other person stood in terms of how they felt in isolation to their partner, which was pretty interesting as a journey, to be fair. Like, I'm not saying you should try long distance, but it was good because it helped us understand ourselves better. So I think that old saying of, everything happens for a reason, and God was leading us to try and spend some time introspecting and reflecting.
Definitely.
And now to answer your question, your question was, what is my attachment style? Let me just consult ChatGPT. Now, Jake can just get back to the definitions. I would probably say dismissive-avoidant is probably what I would put myself in, just because of the person I am and the upbringing that I've had.
Okay.
Not to say that it's in a bad thing or anything. It's just, growing up in a home with 3 boys and one lady in the form of my mother. That's a good way to phrase it, actually. I was thinking about to say
one girl.
Woman. No, that's not right. One lady here in the form of my mother. Yeah, I think that's the one that kind of makes sense naturally.
Okay.
And yourself?
Okay, not so fast, babe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's your attachment style. You said that it's the avoidant. Dismissal. Yes, it's dismissive or avoidant style.
I think even if you put the words the other way around, it doesn't matter too much.
Okay, yes. Okay, avoidant
Dismissal.
Dismissal.
Avoidant, dismissal, or dismissal, avoidant.
Okay. Yeah. Dismissal attachment style.
Okay.
So how did this affect the marriage when we were apart? How do you think it affected the marriage?
So when you ask from that perspective, purely because I'm one of those people who's not very good at conveying my emotions, which is what the dismissal avoidant type of person is. I wasn't always validating our relationship to you, if that makes sense. Like in my own case, I was like, yeah, it's like we're secure, we're fine, it's okay, it's all right. And then when it came to conversations that were emotional or tell me how you're feeling type questions, it made it difficult for me to open up and share. So therefore, I'd imagine on your end, now that I'm reflecting on it, yes, we have had this discussion before, but just reflecting on it in this moment as well, it then probably would have come across as this person isn't very willing, open, and participate in conversation with me beyond just the logical processing and trying to understand what are we doing at this point, what are we doing at that point, as opposed to them just sharing their thoughts and their emotions at that time when I asked them the question.
That's very interesting, your attachment style, because when I then look at my attachment style, I wouldn't say that it's one, but I pick up from both fearful-avoidant and anxious-preoccupied. And in one of those, in the combination of the two, I need constant reassurance. It can come off as being clingy, if I can say. And that's something that I need. I love the attention. I love the reassurance. So it's very interesting how the opposite ends. So how well did we manage that?
I don't know if it was navigated necessarily. I think like your question is difficult to answer because
Mm-hmm.
the answer is ongoing in the sense that we haven't quite come to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But to give
But
you
sorry.
how I translate your question, which makes a bit more sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
is what did we do to mitigate some of those differences that we had?
Okay, that's a better way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
as obviously the person who was avoiding having these deep, meaningful conversations,
The DMCs.
the DMCs, the strategy I went about it was to treat it with a bit more logical approach, if that makes sense. Which sounds bad, but it worked well because it allowed me to at least take elements of my day, which I felt
Mm-hmm.
comfortable to share, and then would share from that perspective.
Okay.
Which at first came across as me hiding a lot of the negative side of our distancing. Um, or the negative emotions that came with us being distanced, which wasn't a huge amount, but it was just like within my own daily struggles of what I was going through. I wouldn't share those. I would rather share the highlights than the lowlights, if I could put it that way. And that's kind of how I went with it at first, was to share the highlights. So that way at least
Mm-hmm.
you could see that I was doing okay emotionally.
All right. And that reminds me of the one time that you were saying you're okay to me, and I felt like you were distanced from me. And then I went on to ask mom, like, Mom, is Rufaro okay? And I think I remember she then asked you, like, is everything okay? Belinda's asking me if you're okay.
Yeah.
Because I felt like you were not okay, but you're
Mm.
not telling me. And why I asked mom is because when we were apart, he moved in with the parents. Yes. So,
My
because,
parents specifically.
yes,
Yeah.
because someone may be like, so why did she have to ask mom? Yes. It's because he was living with the parents. Hence why I asked
My
mom.
parents specifically. She likes to
Yes.
say the parents and then doesn't specify
Oh,
which
yes.
set of parents it is.
Okay, the parents, the Leoga parents. Yes. Thank you for that, babe.
And how did that help you?
I think it did help me to some extent. And then there's also things that I had to put in place on my end because I feel like when you now understand the way that you're attached to somebody, it's not just their responsibility or your partner's responsibility to try and mitigate the characteristics of the way that you attach. So, for example, I went through a phase where I was extremely anxious because of the way that I attach. I got extremely anxious to the point of whenever I got onto TikTok, the videos that I would always see is videos of someone's partner having died. And that really got to me. I'm like, my husband is not close to me. What if he just dies? What if he gets into a car crash? And then that's the point when I actually uninstalled my TikTok. So there's measures that I put in place for myself, and getting off TikTok was one for me. And then I got back onto TikTok. I think when you came back this side when we're now together. And the other thing that we did, you helped me with this one. You accommodated my attachment style in the sense that I like being given the time and I want the reassurance. So, yes, you are not here with me, but we still did everything that we would do together when we were still together and not apart. For instance, I can talk about the Bible study. We did the Bible study, we did the prayers, we even watched movies together. There's a lot. We had date night where you'd order takeout, I'd get taken, takeout, whatever. Yeah, taking and takeout. Yeah, so we'd order food and have like an online date. We used to do everything, and thank you for that because you did accommodate the way that I attached, and it felt like I was doing things with you. But the downside now, I felt the loneliness um, when you got off the call, because I could spend like literally 5, 6 hours on the phone with you, like spend the day with us online. But when I got off the phone, that's when it hit. That's when I had to put things in place for myself and to work on my own emotions, like to figure out, why am I feeling this way? Am I justified to feel this way? Is this not my childhood trauma that's manifesting? And I did pray a lot, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Just to go back, yes, I did pray a lot, because I remember it got to a point whereby it felt so lonely and empty every time I woke up in the house and I was alone and you're not here. And I remember the prayer that I prayed so many times during our separation was, God, please help me, give me the strength. I cannot do this by myself. So that also did help me, praying and spending time in the Lord's presence. Yeah.
I smile. Because she said it's not clingy or needy.
Yes, what do you have to say about that?
So from my perspective, it came off as very clingy and needy. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
But that's because I hadn't put myself in your shoes and I hadn't quite understood as to where you were in your journey of finding security in our relationship.
Okay.
And like for me, I've always been, so like as a family, we have no news is good news because everyone is busy doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's when you hear from someone, then you get a bit more worried. So in our family, there's always been the no news is good news. And then we have a check-in maybe once every 2 weeks or once every well, 2 weeks is the maximum. I think it would be either every week or every 2 weeks. That's kind of how we operated.
Okay.
And then obviously walking into a marriage with Belinda, where she has to have this reassurance on a day-to-day basis, was a bit challenging, especially when we were distanced, because now it meant that I had to check in every day. Because I remember even like waking up and not checking in was a problem, or if I was moving between places and I didn't check in after I'd arrived at a certain location, it would leave you feeling a bit worried. Hence why I laughed when you said it's not clingy. I was like, it's giving clingy. But obviously, as you highlighted, you learned that you needed to put things in place, and in that process of putting things in place, it took a lot of pressure off me, because now I didn't have to feel like I had to check in every time. I didn't feel I had to be always available, because I'm the type of person who's quite comfortable to be independent. Like, and also I think what gave me a bit of an advantage over you is the fact that I've lived completely independent of my parents in a foreign country before. So it was not like, so when you left, in my mind, it was like, you'll be fine. You went to university, you moved to a different town to be away from your family. And then after that, you were living at Arundel School, which was independent of your family again. So I was like, you'll be fine. But in the back of my mind, I hadn't processed the fact that obviously you were moving to a country where English wasn't going to be the first language.
Yeah.
Where you're going to also be the minority, just in race as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to leave the house and be seeing a lot of foreign people as opposed to people that are similar to you or familiar to you. So that then also did kind of spur the push, as you highlighted, for me to be a bit more accommodating of your attachment style at the end of the day, at the end of things. That's not right. At the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more to accommodate you and where you were. So it was through the distance that I learned that you are not as secure as you portrayed back in Zimbabwe.
Or what I thought, because I think even I shocked myself. I can say I shocked myself, and I realized that you don't just, maybe there's people, I don't know, you can comment, you can let us know if there's people who get into a relationship or get married and You say, yeah. Okay, take two. I don't know if there's anyone or any people that have experienced this whereby you get married and then from the word go, you attach securely. I don't know. Because in our case, we having to learn or we progressing or gradually we getting there to getting securely attached. We have to deal with the way we've attached or our personal attachment styles to then come together in a secure way. And yes, you are right to say that when we were together back at home, back in Zim, it appeared like we're securely attached. But when we got apart, it exposed a lot of things. And it's true what they say that marriage exposes the ugly parts of you. Because these are some of the things that I didn't know. Attachment styles are not things that I've ever looked into. But then when we're now apart for those 6 months, I'm like, wait, why am I feeling this way? And then I started looking into the attachment styles, and then I learned that, I'm actually not attached securely. It's That's the end goal. That's where we want to get. We're getting there because we are growing, we're figuring things out.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I think another aspect which played against you is the fact that you aren't a very reflective person naturally.
Yeah.
Unlike for me, I am a reflective person. So I've always wondered as to how like my interaction with my parents would affect my relationship, or how my interaction with my brother would affect the way that I interact with other people. And then also being a person who is a people pleaser, I'm quite emotionally aware of other people, because it's just a thing of being a people pleaser that you become very good at reading emotions, and other people please can't please people unless you know what they're thinking type thing. But before I lose my train of thought, to bring us back,
Okay.
being the people pleaser that I am, it meant that I had an ability to take the time out to try and understand as to how I attach to people. And in our distanced period, I could see that the way I operated would result in it would frustrate you, one, and two, it wouldn't allow you to feel assured. Like I said, I hadn't thought about the fact that, okay, you're going to go out, and you hadn't realized as to how you actually attach to other people and how your past influenced your present in the moments that we were in, which was us being distanced.
Yeah.
Unlike for me, I've always been aware of the fact that my past does have a good relation, has a good bearing on where I am in my present space. So that helped, because now at least I could see that how it was affecting you, and then also taking the time out to try and understand attachment styles, and then also introducing you to it, so that you could also take your own personal journey of trying to understand how they work. It meant that we could work towards being a more secure couple in the sense that we could openly discuss things and openly share and give each other the space we needed to be able to get back to a place of normalcy in terms of emotional space, as well as how we felt with regards to each other as far as security within our relationship. So I've seen you grow through the process. I've seen you try and occupy more of a secure stance as opposed to being anxious and always fearful. And fearful. Like I understand, like some days better than others. Like some days I can leave the house and have no one text me at all, which is crazy.
Like, bye.
Then other days, as soon as my phone's ringing, I'm like, okay, chances are that's my wife. Pull it out of my pocket, it's my wife.
But
hello,
talking about that, I don't think it's related to my attachment styles. Sorry. Because now we can talk about what day of the month it is. Because I've realized I'm needy when it's that time of the month.
That's because of your emotion. That's why I said it just depends, really. Like some
Okay.
days you're better than. That's why I said some days are better than others.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and that's
That's fine.
perfectly fine. Like I understand this. That's life. Like some days I might
Okay.
come to you and I'll emotionally offload, and then other days I could have the worst day of my life and I won't choose to say
Won't say
anything.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone has those days. It's okay.
Okay.
But yeah,
So, what's the main takeaway from this conversation or something that you'd like to leave the viewers with that they can take away from this whole conversation we've had?
try distance marriage, guys. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But
Mm-hmm.
to get back to your question,
Yeah.
if there was one thing I would say, I think first of all, as a man
Mm-hmm.
who's grown up in a predominantly male home,
Mm-hmm.
it's to take the time to understand how that affected you as an individual. In my case, it meant that we kind of, as the men in the family,
Mm-hmm.
like I highlighted in previous videos, that emotional conversation was not necessarily something we always
Had.
no, I wouldn't say had, because we still technically don't have it. We're still learning. We're still all learning at the present moment in time. We're still growing through it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that was always available. And it wasn't something that was always at the forefront of our minds, kind of thing. So it's just taking the time to understand as to how the whole idea of masculinity has shaped how you communicate, because
Mm-hmm.
like biblically we're meant to operate from a place of love. And I know culturally sometimes, like just even the phrase "I love you" between men is a bit of a weird space. um, I'm grateful for the friends that I have because they've made it less weird for me, because they would just be
Okay.
like, I blurt it out and be like, yo, no, I love you, man. And it's like, oh, it's a bit awkward.
You guys do that?
Yeah, I love you too. I love you too. It just
Okay,
depends. Like
that's a shocker.
certain friends, yes, but not all of them. So
Okay.
um, I think it's just taking the time to understand as to how like masculinity is portrayed for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on how your upbringing was. Like everyone says, like my wife, I say everyone, but my wife
Mm-hmm.
mainly is the one who says that I'm a mama's boy, and I'm grateful for being a mama's boy because it has helped me at least try and dig out some of those emotions. Because at least with my mom, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, I love you, mom," and she'll say, "I love you back." And sometimes it's like, "Oh, this is a bit awkward." It feels a bit awkward because she said, "I love you," um, but at the same time, it's been good because it allowed me to understand like how to convey emotion and how to be present in my emotions, which
Okay.
is an ongoing journey. But I think it's just making sure you make the time to try and understand as to how your past has affected your attachment and your ability to love.
Okay. Thank you for that, babe.
You're welcome.
Uh,
Question to you.
okay. The same question?
Yes.
All right. So, my main takeaway from this conversation would be long distance marriage is not easy, or a long distance relationship. It's not easy, but if you want to manage and maintain it, what do you do?
I was just letting them know it's not that bad. It's pretty easy.
Anyway, stop distracting me. Anyway, yes. So, navigating a long distance marriage or a long distance relationship, I just wanted to say that it's not easy, but in
Depending
order.
on your attachment style.
Okay, yes, it depends on that. I don't know if there's actually a lot of people that are securely attached. They must be there. They are there, but it takes work. It's taken them work to get to where they are. But for people that are still trying to get there, I just wanted to say that navigating a long distance relationship or marriage is not easy. And something that can help in that process is to understand the different attachment styles that exist in that relationship, because they will help with this process of trying to survive the time apart. Yeah.
For those of you that are securely attached, please let us know, because clearly my wife doesn't know that she exists. So if you can just comment down below and say that you guys were comfortable with long distance, you were fine, it wasn't that bad. Please let her know down below, because I feel like I'm securely attached when it comes to long distance. Now checking. But yes, do let us know if you are a securely attached individual. Please let my wife know down below in the comments, and just let her know that you guys do exist. And then for
Please
those of you,
and the work that you've put in to get there, or it just started like that, you're blessed like that.
Don't forget to like, share with someone who's going through a struggle of trying to understand as to why they're not able to connect with people, and just introduce you to it. So it's okay. But but please do feel free to engage with our content, and we'll see you next time. My wife is trying to usher us out, so
bye.
All
The
right.
parting kiss.
No.